and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I want to remind everyone, if you are going to speak, please do not, when you raise your hand and we recognize you, walk to the podium, state your name, your address, and then you may speak. We need these for the record when we're recording the meeting. So the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from June 28th. Do I hear a motion? Are there any corrections, additions?
I'll go ahead and move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from June 28th, 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I abstain. I was not there. So you have 5 ayes and 1 abstention. The next order of business is we will hear from our Frederick and Carroll County planner. I see Hannah here, so we will start with our Carroll County planner, Hannah Weber.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
So just 2 quick updates.
Green light.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so just 2 quick updates. We're still going through the residential text amendment at the county. We are hopefully going to start taking some votes on it in our August business meeting. And for the second update, the fall water and sewer amendment cycle is opening on August 2nd. So if there's any properties that you're interested in amending for the water and sewer master plan, the paperwork is due on August 2nd. And that's it for me, if you have any other questions.
Any questions for Hannah?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Sounds
Thank you. Seeing that the Frederick County planner is not here, did he send anything, John? Okay. I apologize, I skipped on the agenda. I skipped number 3, citizens' comments. Is there anyone out there who has a comment for any item that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Then we'll go to item 5, introduction and discussion of S20-0020, which is Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, Lot 15, Concept Final Site Development Plan, King Sports Construction. Ron, you're here. Is someone from King Sports here? Yeah.
Ron Thompson, Banmar Associates, representing King Sports. Unfortunately, they were called out of town at the last minute and could not attend.
Okay.
Also in attendance tonight is the owner of the property, Dr. Full, along with his team back there.
Okay.
Good.
So we'll start. John, you want to start with the staff report, and then when we have questions?
I'm just trying to get everybody real quick.
Oh, okay. I'll go through it. So I'm just going to, I'll go through that. Our live feed must not be up. The project or the information we're talking about is Lot 15, Twin Arch Business Park. The development request is they're requesting concept and final site development plan approval for the establishment of an office/warehouse and storage on Lot 15, which is located in Section 4 of the Twin Arch Business Park. The proposed use being reviewed as a warehousing, storage, and office under the headlines of provisions governing industrial districts, which is Article 112-45 in our town ordinance.
No residential.
So the background of this, the background is that Section 4 received final subdivision approval in 2011. Lot 15 was approved and recorded. There's the recording information, and it contains 22.23 acres. And a portion of this property was transferred, which we have, if you recall, to Lot A, 18A for J&J Trash Site Plan, and that's recorded also. So there's a total of 19.13 acres remaining. So the review stage provides the opportunity for us to review comments and general dialogue about the general layout and design of the proposed project, including sensitive areas, topography, drainage, flood plans, building footprints, bulk requirements, architectural, parking areas, open spaces, walkways, means of ingress and egress, circulation within the site, street design, road width, landscaping, signs, lighting, trash. As you can see, it's everything that we need to go. The list for the concept plan doesn't include the detailed engineering aspects that are related to the town's standards and specifications. So the code provides the statutory framework for the respect to the manner in which the land located within the incorporated limits shall be developed. So the applicable code sections for this vary in the different zonings of the land and the proposed land use, and the staff findings outlined are intended to provide a general summary to guide us, the Planning Commission, throughout the review process. There's town and county agencies where comments are provided and needed, and the comments are addressed in the general layout that are related to this address. So I'm going to do the review of the environmental delineation. The flood management is exempt from the requirements of Chapter 153 of the Carroll County Code. There's no identified wetlands or streams on the site, nor are there any rare or endangered species known to exist on the site. The plan was reviewed for impact to water resources per Chapter 154 of the County Code and found to be in compliance. The forest conservation requirements are exempt, and that explains why they're exempt. The site and layout design includes 8 existing buildings, 2 horizontal concrete silos, and over 80,000 square feet of existing mismatched surfaces, which will be completely resurfaced. The parking areas are spread out among the existing buildings to provide the spaces needed. The dimensional requirements and box standards, the size of the parcel, and the large conservation easements on the north and all the buildings existing, these bulk requirements are being met. The structures on the property do not exceed 18 feet as per the plan that was in review of S20-0020.
28 feet.
Yeah. The building footprint and architecture and the building lighting, as previously mentioned, this site plan is of existing buildings. The building footprints are all existing. In addition, the architectural elevations are all existing, and so are the exterior lights. The parking areas, the proposed site plan provides 36 spaces, which includes 2 handicap spaces and 3 loading spaces. The total interior square footage of the building requires 36 spaces, which they have been provided. The site will have 2 access points along Backacre Circle. Required parking for the proposed development is under the provisions of the town code. Outdoor lighting requirements and restrictions, which is Article 112-18. All existing lighting will remain. If any additional light is to be installed on the site of any building, it first must receive the town zoning administrator or planning commission approval. Open spaces and amenities, there's no requirement for open spaces for this site development. Pedestrian circulation and safety walkways. Sidewalks will be installed along the street frontage in accordance with the subdivision plan for Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4. Landscaping and buffering, a total of 18 planting new units have been provided. Specific species of planting units have been indicated on sheet 5 of 5. The owner has also planted 15 Leland cypress toward the east side of the property in the recent past. Stormwater management requirements are exempt. Total disturbance does not exceed 5,000 square feet. There are no retaining walls as a proposed part of this site plan. The signage at this time, the signing has not been decided upon. Once a decision has been made to determine that the signage will be addressed as a separate sign permit. Trash enclosures, mechanical equipment, and screening devices. No dumpster is shown on this site plan. If in the future a dumpster is needed, approval for location and proper screening will need to meet the town of Mount Airy standards. Road access, travel ways, means of ingress and egress, and internal circulation. Site access will be a main entrance from Back Acre Circle. The site design provides a 24-foot drive aisle with internal circulation. Street design and road width will not create any public streets or roadways. Water service and sewer service. The site is to be served by public water and sewer, is classified W-1, S-1 in the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan as part of the allotted usage of the 1,026 gallons per day for industrial. Adequate public facilities under the Town Code, Article 25-4. Certification of facilities provides that the Planning Commission review the adequacy of the public facilities at the development plan submission. As guided by the Town Code, the term public facilities or facilities shall mean or applies to the following. The first one is the APFO. The water is adequate. This is a verbal change to what you see here that is written. It needs to be, what is written needs to be struck. There has been water approved, correct, Barney? Yes. Okay. So the APFO water is adequate. The APFO sewer is adequate. The current quantity of wastewater treatment available is adequate. The schools are for residential and non-senior housing, so the schools is not applicable at this project. The APFO roads and traffic control devices is considered adequate. The project did not require a traffic impact study due to the size and use on the property. Fire and rescue services are considered adequate. The Mount Airy Volunteer Fire Company has approved the site design and layout and the public safety consideration of a plan. The certification of adequacy is pending, so it's really pending, not adequate. Installation of a new fire hydrant on the property is part of this site plan. The police services are adequate. The Mount Airy Police Department has been contacted and a verbal certification was given, but the certification is pending. The APFO parks and open space are not applicable on this project. So the recommendations, the staff recommends that the Planning Commission conditionally grant approval of the concept/final site plan for Lot 15, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, for the King Sports construction with the following 6 conditions of approval. 1, all town and county comments need to be addressed prior to any grading permit being approved and signed off by the town of Mount Airy staff. 2, provide all legal documents, easements, PWA, and bonding prior to any grading permit/building permit approval. 3, all related materials to the recycling of turf fields be stored in waterproof bags or stored under cover from exposure to the weather. 4, removal of the above ground fuel storage container from the corporate limits. The understanding that no residential use will be allowed on this parcel moving forward with this exchange of use. 6, that all existing wells and septic systems will need to be abandoned and capped and inspected by the Carroll County Health Department, provide the town of Mount Airy with the report from a licensed well driller in the Carroll County Health Department. And even though it's part of the conditions of the APFO, I also included in here installation of the new fire hydrant on the property. So Ron, I'll let you go ahead and then we'll have questions. Or does the commission want to ask questions first?
If I could provide a summary first and then take the
Sure.
questions. Thank you. On this, I wanted to, first of all, again, apologize. King Sports was planning to be here, both John and Christine, but they were called out of town and could not make it here. The site, 19 acres, approximately 8 of the acres is what we call developable acres. The rest is all forest conservation and a stormwater management basin for it. As mentioned, all of the buildings are existing on the site. What I did want to go through is talk about the King Sports operation, because that seems to have been an item of discussion throughout the town here. And they use 2 operations for the removal of turf. They are a turf field installation company. Many of the machines they use they've created patents for, and one-of-a-kind machine. But they have 2 operations for removal of turf and placement of new turf, depending upon client criteria and availability of equipment. The first is turf is cut into rolls. These rolls are transported to storage until the sand and rubber pellets can be removed from the rolls. Typically, these sand and rubber pellets are removed by a separation machine, where the sand and rubber pellets are bagged either for reuse or disposal in an approved disposal site. The turf is then re-rolled and wrapped for transport. The second operation or option is the turf is cut into rolls. During the cutting of the rolls on the turf field, the sand and rubber pellets are separated by a machine at the turf field. They're bagged. The turf is then wrapped for transport, and the sand and rubber pellets are reused on the site. Although this is a lower cost option, it all depends upon client specifications. Surprisingly, even for a lower cost option, most clients specify new sand and rubber pellets or filler for the turf fields. The turf rolls in this operation, as well as in the future, are loaded onto trucks and transported either directly to the southwest or to a recycling center for it. Turf rolls that are not separated on the turf fields are transported back to King Sports property. They're stored until the end of the construction season. King Sports retains their employees year-round. They're not seasonal employees. Many of them have been with them for over 10 years. And during the non-construction season, late fall through early spring, and sometimes during the year if they're in between jobs, the sand rubber mixture is separated from the turf rolls via a proprietary machine, bagged, and then the turf rolls are wrapped for transport. And the materials are either shipped to the southwest for reuse as residential lawns, or particularly the Phoenix area, as I understand it, or other recreational purposes, or they're sent to an off-site recycling center that's licensed to grind up the turf fields. And then they're used for other types of recreation purposes. Again, the recycling center is not a King Sports operation. Typically, turf rolls are stored for no more than 1 construction season. Again, they typically process them if they are stored on site during the construction year. They're processed and removed during the late fall to early spring when there are no sports fields being constructed. And I will note turf rolls on lot 15 have been stored for more than 1 year while we're waiting for approval of this site plan. And this is unusual, but we did not want to start the separation process without a site plan approval. During this time, the rolls were safely stored in the horizontal concrete silos, and per inspection, there have been no migration of sand or rubber mix from the turf rolls during the time that they've been stored there. At the request of the town, the turf rolls have now been covered with tarp until the end of the construction season, when they can be prepared for removal. And again, I mentioned that there are times if they are in between a project, then the staff will begin to separate that material. King Sports has agreed to the text contained on the Lot 15 title sheet under material storage. Turf field materials consisting of synthetic rubber blades, mats, and rubber pellets shall be stored either under roof, under tarp, or in plastic bags, plastic wrapping. It's basically a reuse of an old farm site. And I'll answer any questions you would like.
Anyone, commissioners have any questions?
I have one question, because it's interesting that in many ways, Doc Full's property years and years ago started a process that really was an example of mixed use. And I'm wondering, how long has that process taken? When did we embark upon the allocation of that land and development of that land in all the different ways that has occurred over the years?
That's pre-Ron Thompson time here, probably even in Maryland. I think it's probably been over 20 years or more, probably 30 years when you look at Twin Arch Village. The other sections all along Backacre Circle.
Doc said 2000.
Okay.
And you had townhomes, single family, Brittany Manor, which is actually a, very successful type village where lots are together with a lot of open space around it. And then industrial lots.
Yep.
Not correctly, he said 1985.
I was gonna say, I think it's a lot longer than that.
2007, I was potentially here.
Yeah, because how old are the townhouses?
2000.
Okay. Okay. Any, Leslie, do you have any questions?
I was gonna,
Well,
you ask your question, then you might remind me if this is what I'm
Okay.
thinking of.
so, yeah, the only thing I was worried about with tarping is that sometimes there's condensation underneath the tarping. You're getting moisture from the ground underneath it because there's soil underneath it. So you're getting moisture and then it's going to kind of, condensate back down. Not an optimal solution.
Well, typically I would think that they will be, we have a lot of what I call old barn space that they may use, probably will be stacked inside of a lot of those old barn spaces. If, for instance, they need to put something on the ground, having it under a tarp, they've had rain and significant rain on them for the last year to 2 years, and nothing has migrated away from it. It's all wrapped where it's really I don't know if it's really called a fabric, but there's no neoprene or everything's wrapped inside, so if it hits it, it basically doesn't soak in.
So I was just wondering, isn't this what we talked about a while ago, that actually Carl was concerned about stuff seeping and we wanted it to be wrapped, so now
Yeah,
it's-
I did a site visit out there on Friday with Ron, and I can pretty much confirm what Ron has indicated. There has been no migration of any of the sand, the crumb rubber off-site from sitting there. I mean, it's not any, I saw more stuff migrating off the site from the road, from the gravel road into Backacre Circle than I did from the storage of the rolls.
okay, thanks.
So I'm pretty satisfied that there won't be any problem with anything washing off the rolls.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
may I just make a comment on a couple of the
Conditions?
conditions.
Sure.
I think the third bullet, I'm sorry, the fourth bullet could be removed since the tank has been removed from the town limits. You can leave it in, but it's already gone.
Do we have confirmation of that?
Yep, I did a site visit this morning and it has been removed.
Is the commission comfortable removing that then?
It doesn't exist.
Okay.
Number 6, existing wells and septic systems have already been abandoned under permit by Carroll County. The well was abandoned when we were constructing Backacre Circle and the lots because it sat down near Twin Arch Road. And the septic systems were recently abandoned through a permitting process. And it's very difficult because of COVID-19 to try to find records in Carroll County. I think, were you involved or knew about the well? Not to put words in.
No, I inspected the water lines that they put in, or the sewer lines they put in, but I did not inspect anything having to do with abandonment.
So have we had an inspection by the Carroll County Health Department?
Carroll County Health Department has to either, I cannot confirm how they, if they have the contractor certifies the work has been done, if they accept that certification, but it's clearly done under a permit through Carroll County. I don't know if they come out and look at it or if they take the contractor certification. I do know I was on site when the two houses, the septic tanks, were disabled, emptied, punched through, and piping put through to connect to existing houses to the
Okay, so
sewer system.
sounds like we need to keep this condition in place.
Yeah, let's keep it in there.
I would keep it until we can,
It's no harm.
until we can definitely verify from the county that it's been done, just for everybody's protection, honestly.
Because I think we did some research, Deborah did, through Carroll County Health Department to try to find an abandonment or a certification of that abandonment, and we were unable to retrieve any.
That's my concern, is that trying to find records. We're having problems when we go ask for records on existing septic systems. To get those records for lots that we're helping people in terms of new
Right.
septic systems, it's just, doesn't happen.
Well, we'll have to figure it out. Either way, it's gonna have to, we'll have to.
We're going to
get
need
it.
some sort of paper,
Yeah,
so,
Whether
for
it's-
protection of the town.
or I can't find the paper, but we'll have to.
Or the, whoever capped it, whatever plumber you had do the work,
We'll ask
you
the
know,
Falls,
ask them for a receipt of some sort of.
we'll ask the Falls
verification.
if they have a receipt. They should have.
Yeah, and an affidavit, something.
Yeah, if they can find a receipt, that'll be fine, or that, like Leslie says, something from the plumber, whoever did the work. But I'd like to keep that one in there. Okay,
And do you want to add that other one to replace the one removed with the installation of the fire hydrant?
yeah, I'd like to keep that in there as well. I know it's on the site plan, but I want to keep it in there,
Wait,
because it was part of the APFO, the conditional approval. Is there a motion?
John, were you saying,
So Roxanne added one at the bottom here, installation of,
Installation of the new fire hydrant on the property,
okay.
still be 6 conditions.
so, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead. I'll move that the Planning Commission conditionally grant approval of the concept/final site plan for Lot 15, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, for King Sports Construction, with the following 6 conditions of approval. 1, all town and county comments need to be addressed prior to any grading permit being approved and signed off by the Town of Mount Airy staff. 2, provide all legal documents, easements, PWA, and bonding prior to any grading permit, building permit approval. 3, all related materials to the recycling of turf fields be stored in waterproof bags or stored under cover from exposure to the weather. 4, the understanding that no residential use will be allowed on this parcel moving forward with this change of use. 5, that all existing wells and septic systems will need to be abandoned and capped and inspected by the Carroll County Health Department. Provide the town of Mount Airy with the report from a licensed well driller and the county health department. 6, installation of a new fire hydrant on the property. Is there a second to this? It's been moved and seconded that we give conditional approval for Lot 15 with the conditions that were mentioned. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We're giving it conditional approval. Thank you. Next, we're going on to the discussion and possible recommendations of some ordinances. We're going to start with ordinance number 2021-16, a proposed text change for Article 25-5, adequate facilities. Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Tom, do you want to?
Get to his hearing aid.
Yes, please
That's
explain.
pretty cool.
Sure. So this ordinance was introduced, I think, in the June.
Yes,
town
it was
council
June.
meeting, if I'm not mistaken, along with the next one that I think you'll be taking up for consideration, which would, if enacted, would change the zoning map to, and the Beck property to the MXD. This particular ordinance, of course, would relax the APFO requirement for open space for an MXD project so that the project could move forward without this or some amendment of the relaxation, if you will, of the APFO requirement to meet the exemption standard, to qualify for the exemption, because the town is today and remains inadequate in terms of its open space. Without some modification, then an MXD project would not be allowed to go forward. So until such times the town became adequate, obviously. So that's the purpose of this ordinance. It was obviously introduced as a companion to the next ordinance you'll take up.
So I have a question. How is it determined that they would not be able to qualify for the amount of open space needed?
I'm sorry, ask that again?
Why is there an assumption that they would not be able to qualify for the amount of open space needed?
Because they don't have enough land to devote to provide. Remember that to qualify for the exemption from the Planning Commission for any development that would introduce new residences, they would have to, within the development itself, establish that it's giving, and I forget the ratio, I'm looking
like
for it right here.
3 acres per 100 or
3
something?
acres
Yeah.
per 100
People,
persons.
yes.
You know, obviously to qualify for that and be able to build out a mixed use, I think some would say, the developer certainly, that it's simply not possible to devote that much land to meet that particular ratio. So that's why this is being proposed, and the exemption is simply the 10% that they're going to be required under your new, or the town's new MXD ordinance anyway. So in other words, if they meet that, then this change would allow them to meet the APFO standard as well.
Right, but they have to meet the 10% that we put into the
Certainly.
MXD. Because I was working and I didn't have a lot of time to review this today, or yesterday, or the day before. Yeah.
Okay, that helps. And before, we had only done this in the downtown.
Right, we did this in the downtown.
Yeah, we didn't include at that point in time the MXD. We said when that came up that we would go ahead and look at it. So, yes, we're making it consistent.
Right. Somebody wanted to keep it together. We said it would be separate, right?
Anybody else have any other questions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion? Yeah, for approval? Yes, Larry? Yeah, you're the public.
I have a lot of problems
Larry.
with this ordinance.
You have to introduce yourself and
Yeah.
give your address. I'm
Larry
sorry.
Hushar, 501 West Ridge Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I got a lot of problems with this ordinance and the one after it, and I won't go into detail because I don't want to totally throw everyone off on it, but I would start by saying that when this was introduced at the June meeting, and it was alluded to again tonight, is that all you're trying to do is align it to the downtown zone and the percentage that's required under the downtown zone. But I don't think that this is, that's the only case where this applies, because this is going to be to every MXD zoned property. And right now, I'll grant you the only thing that's looking at MXD other than MXD Light up at Green Tree is the Beck property. But what happens if Harrison LaShire comes back into play? Granted, they got 80 acres up there, but, which could make us adequate in terms of open space. But if you pass this ordinance as it is, then we're losing a bargaining chip that I feel that we have right now. I think that that there's possibilities that if you pass this ordinance, and I would just ask you to look down the road at the scenarios that could happen. If this passes, then maybe Voslo, when they come back in, they say, you know what, commercial's fine, but MXD would be better, because they may be able to meet the open space requirement at that point. So what I'm asking you is to look beyond the Beck property. I don't like the fact that the ordinance was drafted based on the Beck property, but potentially there could be future MXD properties. And the most probable one that makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck is Harrison LaShire coming back into play when the county figures out what they're going to do with it. And I do know there's already developers that are up there, and based on the type of developers that they are, they may come back to the town and say, you know what, we like your MXD, and if we're going to be annexed in, we want to be MXD, and if you don't annex us in, then we're going to develop in the county, build our own sewer plant, and go MXD all the way north on a county scale. So I would just be very, very careful about passing this only looking at the Beck property. You got to look at the future of other areas potentially wanting to be MXD. And I'll spare you on the next ordinance by telling you that I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to jump ahead of the master plan, even though it's listed in the master plan as a potential MXD property in the next master plan. That's the only justification for -17 coming around. But we made the Voslos wait, and we would make anyone else wait. I don't like the fact that we're jumping through our rears as a town to get the MXD on the Beck property and get that moving forward. If we want Center Street to happen, we need to go to our delegates and our state senators, and we need to put pressure on them and bring in money like we already have to the tune of $500,000 to start that process and to approve things like we did when I was on the council, of making Park Avenue a one-way and getting moving that way. I don't think this is the way to get Center Street through. I think that it would be much better for us to keep all the marbles in our hands and make the developer jump through his rear to get these things done. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, I'm wondering if you can, for those of us who were not at the council meeting, can
was
you
just
give us
gonna
some
ask.
background into how this all came up?
I was just going to ask Carl, can you give us some background on these? I'm going to ask for both the two ordinances, even though we're just first talking about 2016. Can you give us any background?
On a background now, as Barney, Tom included, it said that it was basically to bring in, to allow it to meet up with what was included in the MXD code, is the best way to describe it, is that when the MXD code was approved, it had a 10%, so the APFO ordinance is just more of aligning it with the current code. For 2017, just to try and get jumpstart, as Larry was saying, try and jumpstart the process of getting Center Street through for the MXD process. That's why we brought it forward for the most part.
Okay, this body has the ability to decide, or at least to recommend zoning and zoning changes. We took a very in-depth look at our town zoning 10 years ago when we created 2013 master plan. We additionally said, let's request and ask for any zoning change applications that anyone wants to give us so we can look at the big picture. We then said, in terms of development and land use, our priority was infill development. We were not interested in expanding the physical size of Mount Airy unless there was a compelling reason. We said one possible compelling reason would be the OPE considerations that we were considering for Harrison-LaShire. And to this day, I would maintain that our OPE and how it was drafted and the purpose of it, and therefore how it was drafted, is superior to the county version of what they proposed. I don't see us departing from that original consideration of where we wanted to use MXD and why, the rationale for it. There's absolutely no way we can expand downtown. The only way we can do it is to clone it, in a manner of speaking, and to give ourselves the opportunity of a combination of mixed use. And the best opportunity to do that is also in the connecting street that would bring 27 into Mount Airy downtown. That would give us the opportunity for additional retail, additional commercial, and the possibility of some additional housing choices. Okay? I don't see us doing wholesale MXD all over town. I truly don't. But
Yeah, but the ordinance provides for certain properties, types of properties that can be
Yes,
annexed.
that you could point to it, but that doesn't mean it happens that way. I mean, this is all based on economic sustainability. Either do this or you end up with empty retail. That's what it boils down to.
Yep.
I mean, any towns that are successful right now are doing this, and there's a reason why. It's successful. It works.
Do you guys have the MXD ordinance? Because like Lindy pointed out, doesn't it say that it's community commercial land? Well, it's got to say the residential, but not the industrial. I can't remember because there were so many versions of it.
Not sure what
Talking
you're
about the
asking.
MXD, the code that was passed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
And you can just find.
I don't have the code, I don't have the MXD code in front of me. I was just trying to figure out if you were talking about the next ordinance coming up or the existing code.
So I was talking about the next ordinance, but I thought MXD only applied to the existing community commercial.
Yeah, that's MXD light.
That's the
That's the
special
text
exception that was
section.
adopted a number of years ago called the MXUCC, or the, and I forget what that stands for, but it's a special, yeah, it's an overlay within the CC. This is different. This is an actual district.
Oh, may I ask a question?
Yes.
While Leslie, while doing while I'm not asking, or suggestion, is there a way, as Larry was saying, indicating, can we do like a case-by-case special exception on MXD? Like say, do this exception under APFO, then say if Harrison LaShire comes in as MXD, do like another exception for that depending on the case-by-case basis, or is it?
Well, remember, we're kind of confusing things. So special exception is a zoning concept.
Okay.
This is the APFO. This simply determines whether or not a development can move forward or it cannot at the concept stage, basically.
But maybe not a special exception, but on a case, like prove like a case-by-case basis, or would that be more troublesome?
I would think you'd want a standard spelled out in an ordinance.
On the APFO, absolutely.
Right, so it seems like we should have a standard that,
For the district.
for the ordinance, that says if you're limited in some way, such as the downtown zone was clearly limited, and maybe some of these properties may be limited, then perhaps they could get this type of a waiver, but not just carte blanche waiver on any type of an MXD property. I mean,
Yeah. That's what I was trying to,
right.
thank you.
Roxanne,
Yes.
so it's John. So my question is, and I think Tom knows the answer, I don't know right offhand, but the MXD currently is at a 10% value or no?
So if a development got past APFO, they would have to, under Chapter 98, provide for 10% open space.
So the MXD is currently slated at 10% of, or you're saying if this was to get passed, then it would be at the 10%. The current code, does it have a value set to APFO standards for open space for the MXD?
Well, it'd be governed by the 100,
1 to 3.
Three acres for every 100.
100.
because it's a development that's introducing new
Residential, right.
So if you had the type of a property where the 3 acres per 100 actually garnered you more than 10%, then that's what you would get. You would get more open space,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why can't we just write it that way?
I'm sorry, write it how?
So if the 10%, because they have to do the 10%, it's like whichever is greater is what they would have to do. So if it's Beck property, then maybe they do 10%, because if they tried to do 3 acres per 100, it wouldn't be feasible. But if it's Harrison LaShire, then, but I guess it also depends. That's sort of like giving them the opportunity to actually overbuild. So we'd have to do it a different way. That actually wouldn't work.
You would still have to give them the MXD for
Yeah,
Harrison
that actually
Shear.
wouldn't work.
So
I don't,
if you give them the MXD, then they could have to be compliant to this. But if it's the OPE, then
I'm
they
not,
wouldn't.
yeah, I wasn't talking about it being the OP. I was just using Harrison LaShire like Larry was, as an example.
But they still haven't been approved.
They haven't been approved and they haven't asked for a rezoning or
No,
anything.
no. It was just an example. It was,
The property to
yeah,
pick out.
it was just to use as an example.
And we were interested in MXD for Harrison LaShire, given that location.
Right.
That was a concern. What we were interested in was
Is
more
what the
retail,
open
was more industrial.
Ron, you had a question? Or comment?
Ron Thompson, Van Mar, not a comment. As I view what the ordinance is, APFO ordinance is, you've passed already an MXD ordinance that says 10% on the entire acreage, not just the residential portion of an MXD, but on the entire acreage. There was discussion, should it be 8?
Right.
Ended up being 10, which would be somewhere comparable to the 3 acres per 100 people if you wanted to try to do the computations out. So that's how you ended up with the 10% over the entire parcel, of which the MXD requires a percent to be commercial,
75, 25.
and then the remainder being residential for it. What this ordinance, I believe, does is that currently, if we are doing a residential property and we're able to provide 3 acres per 100 people for the property, then we are eligible for exception or variance, whatever the term would be, because the town does not have the required acreage on it. So that's what this is doing, is bringing current the APFO code to match the MXD.
Right.
An example, MXU, the overlay, Green Tree, I'm not sure, is now, it has to match the 3 acres per 100 people, because I don't believe that's eligible for the 10%. That's an overlay.
Right.
Where if you have a zoning district that you establish, by the Planning Commission establishes, then they're eligible for the 10%.
Thank you. Any other?
Good evening. Stephen Demoter, citizen and town council member, 1007 Meadow Green Drive, Mount Airy, Maryland. Just a couple comments. When I was at the MML, Maryland Municipal League Conference in June, and I was networking with other council members across other small towns in our state, I was talking to them about some of the challenges of growth and development and some of the ordinances that were put forth recently here in our town. And the key message that he shared with me was that your first allegiance should be to the citizens of the town and not to the developers. So I wanted to share that. Secondly, I don't understand why we are giving away our leverage and negotiations with the developer by granting them this waiver. I've lived in this town for 27 years. There's an 80-acre deficit of open space in the town of Mount Airy. Where do I go to get my 80 acres back? Explain that to the rest of the citizens. Thank you.
Okay. First off, this open space deals, first off, with residential properties. So we're having an issue because we have a mixed-use development here that we're trying to fit into a residential part. Secondly, I've lived in this town for over 60 years. This town is just surviving. We need to have more retail space and more commercial space if we're going to continue to survive in this town. If we do not, this town will kind of, it'll be there, it will be what the citizens want, but they won't be able to get anything that, any of the services or anything that they would like to have. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out, we have growing pains here. We're a little town, but we're getting, to the medium part. So we're trying to find different ways. Yes, we do owe allegiance to the citizens, and that's why we're doing this, because we want to have the town viable, physically, monetarily viable, as well as viable for the things that we want to do. At one point in time, the Beck property, and we've talked about this, they were all citizens of this town. And they contributed very highly to this town. Their property has been for sale for 19 years. I don't think anyone, wants their property for sale for 19 years. We're trying to find a way for them, because they were citizens, to give them some advantage and allow them to sell their property. And that's what we're doing. Does anyone?
And to utilize it for greatest advantage to.
Yes, and to be able to utilize it for the town, to the best use of the town. At this point, does anyone else have any questions? At this point, I would just like to, this does not need a motion because we are asking, the council was asking us for a recommendation. So it's kind of a motion, I guess. I'm asking that we give a positive recommendation and send it back to the town council. My one question is, will this be able to be on the docket, John, in August? Did they put a placeholder on that, or will we have to wait until September?
No, it'll have to wait till September. I don't think it's on the agenda.
Okay.
Wait till September, so we have a little more time, because this was kind of a lot to just get, and have a couple days to look at for those of us who have jobs.
Okay, well, then the thing of it is, if we wait until, I see what you're saying.
All right, so on the September docket for town council.
So can we put it on the docket now for September?
It's on their docket for September.
No, no, it's not.
I don't think there's an agenda yet for.
There's,
It's not on price, but anyway, so, we have time, basically. It's not on for August, it might not even be on for September.
And
So
you
we
have
have
to-
time to discuss this next,
You wanna-
at our August meeting.
And you just have to remember this, the September meeting is a week later than normal. So we have a little bit extra time because the first Monday is Labor Day. So it's actually the 13th.
well, let's go ahead with what we're doing.
Okay.
So I've asked for approval now. Those for a positive recommendation now.
Are you going to separate these two that are different ordinances?
Yeah, this is
Which
2016.
one are you talking about? Okay.
2021-16.
All right, I am opposed.
Okay,
to that.
so, all right, who is opposed to giving a positive recommendation? All those, who is in favor of giving a positive recommendation? Okay, we'll send it. It's positive recommendation.
I really think you're supposed to do a motion, even though you're supposed to do well, whatever, fine.
I think
Now-
technically there should be a motion. to-
Okay, then we'll make the motion.
Or you
Okay.
say that you're making a
All right.
recommendation. and-
I move that we make a positive recommendation of ordinance 2021-16 to the town council.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of sending a positive recommendation to the town council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Okay, so this will go on the docket for September. The next ordinance is, before we go, Hannah, I want to ask a question real quick. I know that they put Harrison Lakeshore out for bid. Has that been, have they made a decision?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's.
The only way I knew they had a bid was a citizen emailed me about it, and that was the first I heard of it.
Okay,
But that's all I know.
okay.
Hey, Roxanne.
Yes.
Just on the Harrison LaShare Facebook page, they indicated the county received 2 bids for the property, and they're currently reviewing those bids.
Okay,
So one was by St. John's Property, and the other is Fall Developers.
that's, okay, that's all I need to know, thank you. Okay, the next discussion is for ordinance to give a positive approval to ordinance number 2021-17. It's an ordinance to revise and amend the zoning map of the town of Mount Airy, consistent with the 2013 master plan. Tom, please.
So we're you're going to explain it.
As indicated before, this one was also introduced at the town council meeting on June 7. Essentially, as drafted, the ordinance would change the zoning map to place the MXD designation on the Beck property, quote, the Beck property, you know, at this time, or if passed, when passed. That's the simple purpose of it, as set forth in the whereas clauses. They're pages from the master plan that a proponent of this ordinance would say this is consistent with. Basically, the master plan 2013, though adopted in 2016, in two places particularly would seem to indicate.
Can you give us the page numbers again?
Page, they're in the whereas clauses, so page 66, I quote from the ordinance quotes from my draft of the ordinance. Both the mixed-use zoning and office park and employment zoning classification have been discussed at the Planning Commission level and are essential components of the future growth pattern guided by the 2013 Comprehensive Master Plan update. It's not actually the quote I meant to quote. My apologies. No, it's here. Page 87. Which whereas clause?
Eighty-seven.
Yeah, it's 87.
Thank you. All right, this is what I meant to read. Quote, this property has been identified to be among potential candidates for a mixed-use commercial development opportunity with a residential component in the future should a mixed-use zoning district become available. That's the main quote in all events. So basically that's the premise for this and why it's been introduced at the town council meeting at this time.
So I guess my question is sort of stemming off what Larry brought up. So in the council's view, or whoever proposed this ordinance, is that this can be, the zoning can be changed pre-master plan because it's referenced in here?
So the question really gets to this. Normally, between master plans, there must be a showing of mistake or substantial change in character of the neighborhood. And on application, there's a evidentiary hearing before the town council, et cetera. The Voslo property by way of example. However, towns are free to change their zoning map in accordance with their comprehensive plan. And the zoning that, or the rezoning that flows from that is called comprehensive rezoning. The courts do not review that. That's looked upon as a legislative matter. Now, which is this? I think there's a pretty strong argument that the town council could do it now. Why is it being done now as opposed to back in 2016? And the answer simply is that the MXD ordinance had yet been fully prepared and adopted. It was probably, frankly, in anticipation that it would have been adopted much sooner to 2016 than it ended up being. But here we are in this place with the MXD having been adopted now. And so I think that a fairly strong argument could be made that this simply completes the comprehensive rezoning that was anticipated and partially completed in 2016. Others may disagree with that. They may well disagree with that. At the same time, having said that, there's also no legal compunction on the town council from enacting this at this time either. So it's that's how I see it, at least legally.
So for all those who are zoned R3 and R7, which are up toward the top, all of a sudden they're going to wake up and find out that the property right next to them, which was R3 and R7, is now mixed use. All those homeowners, including myself. Where was the notice for them? Where were the signs and all that saying, hey, we're going to discuss this tonight?
Signage up in front, in Town Hall here. I'm not sure where, I mean, unless I do it every 50 feet, I'm not sure how I could actually sign that properly enough to make sure everybody knew, unless we were, submitted something to every adjoining property owner, which would have to be part of the application from the client, which is, I guess, us that we're trying to push it through, or, propose it. Again, you can table this until next month, and I can put signs up, and we can try to get everybody's adjoining property owner to this parcel and send out an invitation to let them know it's going to be here.
I can tell you that they don't know, that's for sure.
I mean, that's my concern, both which I hadn't even actually thought of, but certainly what Lindy's saying, and just that it seems a little bit rushed, and especially when there's certainly time before council, before it's going to be on council's agenda. So I just want to go on the record that I am against recommending it favorably, and I might feel differently in a month when I have a little bit more time to look at it more thoroughly and when other people can be notified. But that's why I, at least right now, am opposed to it.
Roxanne.
The only, John, if I may, if the only problem, I agree with you that people should know, but one thing we have to watch is waiting a really long time to do something, enacting some sort of action, and then everybody waking up one day going, oh my gosh, like, I should have paid attention. We should go to town hall, but we'll keep moving it next month and next month. Eventually, we have to do something, and we can't just keep kicking it down the road because that citizen didn't know about it, that one didn't know about it. We didn't tell the other people that. Like, I mean, there's some responsibility on the town residents to stay plugged into what's going on, looking at signs, reading the messenger, looking at the website. I mean, you have a responsibility as a resident to know what's going on in the town and not just wake up one day when there's a backhoe in the, 50 feet from your property and going, hey, I didn't know they were building that. I mean, that's what's going to happen with Green Tree. It's been on the master plan for 20 years, and people are like, oh my gosh, when did this is being rushed? It's not being rushed. It's been talked about for 20
I'm
years.
just saying that this isn't going to be on the council's agenda before September, and we have an August meeting. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying this isn't really rushed because it's kind of been talked about. If you watch the council meetings, it's been talked about for a couple council meetings.
I was never under the impression that the R3 and R7 portion of it was going to be changed to mixed use. I was under the impression that it was only the community commercial. So now all of a sudden, myself and all those residents all along Park, Frederick, and down there, they don't know. I think we owe them something more than that we're kicking us down.
And I agree, they should know. But the thing is, what about the people who don't know next month and we kick it another month because 10 more
No.
people didn't know?
No.
Like, when do things happen?
Where are the signage? Where,
it's-
again?
Yeah, it's codified, it's in the code that we have to, when people are adjacent and we're making a decision, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, that there should be a notification to those people. And yeah, the one side of it, we don't have, there's not an issue with it.
Half
The
the
side-
town.
So.
That's half the town. The back
So,
property.
yeah, but I think that we need to table this and discuss it in September. It's so that we can get the residential side, those people notified. I don't have a problem on the one side. I honestly, I totally forgot that it's the all three. But if we can still discuss it at the end of the month and take it, make sure that it gets on the agenda in September. Then we can also look at it like there is going to be a public hearing. So we can get it to them faster so that we can have the public hearing.
the point, eventually.
So that's, I mean, I'm trying to play both sides here to try to make a decision.
I mean, it's not happening in a vacuum,
So
but it's got to happen. Somebody's got to move it forward eventually.
that public, you will be notified with that public hearing.
That's correct. It still has to be introduced to the town council, then the following month will go
Step
to,
one of 10.
exactly.
Let's just,
So if it's in September, then they won't have the public hearing until October, correct, Carl? Is that
That
correct?
is correct.
but we can at least get it one step closer to getting it one step closer.
In August, after people are notified, because they're not gonna, it's not gonna be on the council's agenda before September at the earliest. But, you know, this whole thing about public hearings, which is true, it's like, we've talked about this for years. It's like, once something gets to the public hearing, it's so far along, and there's so much money been put into it. I mean, it's a lot harder to get something stopped once it's at council in the public hearing than to be part of a process. And this is like sort of a process, but that this was going to be decided tonight has not, no one's been informed of
So you
that.
see all those empty seats? Those doors are open.
Do people even know that we're having in person? I mean, this is all new. This is like, what, our
So,
second
that's the
in-person
thing, is you
meeting?
don't show up when the backhoe is in like 50 feet from your property. Like, that's the problem.
But why are you so concerned, like, why do you think it's urgent tonight when we're going to have a meeting in
No, it's,
August?
it's not just this topic, it's every topic that we discuss. We put it on there, then we move it down the road, then we move it again, and then next thing you know, it's 5 years.
Well, it impacts people's property.
I mean, you know, if we wait long enough, then it won't be out of cycle of the master plan. It'll just be right in tune with 2023.
Larry?
So if this doesn't move forward, it looks, I'm looking at Center Street here too. So if this
Yeah,
just stays
it's-
R3, then we can't do Center Street.
Right.
So it,
You can do Center Street.
That part of the property is community commercial. It's the top part.
okay, we're backing up to the houses.
We've been talking for years about, you know, that the town could actually put some money into this and open it up. It's like, what, like half a mile at that, a quarter
And I'm
mile?
sorry, Roxanne, sorry.
Sorry, Larry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Larry Hushar, 501 West Ridge Drive. So, Scott, I get your point about kicking the can down the road, and I would tell you that I had a letter that I thought would be published in the Messenger that would let some people know what was going on tonight, but then the Messenger took a cycle off. So I guess it'll be in their next issue. But in terms of kicking the can down the road, in my mind, we're actually moving this ahead by 2 years. You know, this is something that the Beck family or the developer or their attorney or all three of them should come to the town and ask for that property to become MXD. And that should be something that's done in writing. It should be something official. It should be something that Tom sees. And that hasn't occurred. In this case, what's happening is the council or a member of the council, or maybe more than one member, jumped out and said, let's fast track this. Let's jump the gun by 2 years.
A member of the town council.
Town council. So my point is that we're not dragging our feet at all if you wait a month or 2 months or 2 years. As far as I know, the Beck family has not presented anything in writing, and correct me if I'm wrong, asking for that property to be MXD. But here we are as a town jumping 2 years ahead and saying, let's give it to them. We're giving, I think Councilman Demoter was pointing toward it. We're giving up leverage by just going out there and giving it to them without them maybe even asking for it. Okay? So I'm very leery. I'm very concerned about how we're moving on this.
So I see our inaction as an injustice to the town to give them further economic sustainability and progress. We talk about Center Street and, you know, how much more can we talk about it without doing it?
Well,
and this is inhibiting that. Not moving forward on this is stopping somebody from trying to make Center Street what it could be. And that's what I'm talking about, kicking down the can, not this ordinance in particular, but Center Street, the bigger Mount Airy picture, the vision plan of what we are trying to do here. And every month is another lost month that we can bring the citizens what they're really looking for is something that they can, you know, be proud of in the town. I mean, I went out this weekend. I had to go spend my money in another town because it didn't offer me what I needed for what I wanted to do. And you know where I actually ended up doing? It was a mixed use development place down at Rockville Pike. That's where I spent my money this weekend. And I would have rather have kept it in town. Jobs, supporting local businesses. I don't want to drive 40 minutes to go get some meal and a walk around that I enjoyed. We can have that. But I feel that is something that we need to, if we're not going to do it, let's not do it. But we can't talk about doing it and just flounder for 20 years. It just can't happen. The time has come. The time has come for action. And this is one step to make that happen. It just is. I mean, mixed use is the future. And if you don't think it's true, go to Park Potomac, go to, the Rio, go to Pike and Rose. These places are flourishing. And the reason they are is because they're offering people jobs. They're offering them places to eat. They're offering them places to work. That's what we need. We need to keep the money in the town, and that's how we survive. Roxanne mentioned that we're withering. I don't know if we're going to die tomorrow, but we're definitely not booming. And it's not, you don't have to be all these big towns that everybody says, we don't want to be Gaithersburg, we don't want to be Rockville, we don't want to be Columbia. We couldn't be Columbia if we wanted to. So get that out of your head. It's not going to happen. But we can somehow move a little closer to some kind of economic sustainability that can help people and the businesses in this town flourish. It's just, and this is step one of like 500.
I got total respect for your opinion, and that is a suitable argument. I don't agree with it, but it is a very legitimate argument, and that's why this is on the table. But what I would tell you is that if the ultimate goal is to get Center Street through, then you start beating up your delegates and your state senators again, and you get money back here from Annapolis like we've already done, so that we have a bargaining chip that we can approach the BECs or the developer with and say, listen, we got $7.9 million to go toward this town out of COVID relief.
Right.
We ought to be able to go to the developer without this and say, if you want to develop, we can help you, but you're not going to go palooza on us and do something that we don't feel.
Well, what's to say that developer says, okay, I don't want to deal with you, bye,
So we're
I'm
gonna go.
somewhere else. And we lose that economic opportunity.
Well, you can have your argument toward that way, but I would tell you that what we need to do is make sure that we have a bargaining chip on the table and that the developer has to work with us, because by having these two ordinances in there, you're basically giving the developer what he needs up front. And I
think we're giving something that is going to get us what we want. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, like I said, I understand your side of the agreement. I don't, or your side of the argument, but I just don't agree with it. I think we need to, hold the developer to our code as written.
Well, I would just like to say that, yes, very good argument for some future day, but you're completely ignoring Main Street and like the empty shops on Main Street, including the bank building, which of course would be like the total thing that would really revitalize this town. And in fact, the downtown vision plan envisions a whole change to the downtown area, the downtown zone, the rail yard. It could be fantastic. You could have concerts. You cut through to the park. You have the bank building is like a brewery or a theater. I mean, you can have yes, Center Street is next, but it's like, this is the real, this is what makes, this is like the real place.
But
This is downtown. I'm still talking. He talked for quite a while. We let him go. But it's just like to say, I mean, yeah, I know some people like, the mixed use and sort of the made up, the not real stuff, as opposed to a real town, like the downtown and stuff like that. Yeah, you've been here not as long as we've been here. Roxanne was born here. Yes, everybody's been here a long time. but there are reasons, and it's town policy, that that building is still sitting there.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
why is it still?
Yes, yes.
Still there?
There's reasons that it's still there, and supposedly, it's soon gonna be, maybe, actually.
There is
something.
activity or interest in the
But
building.
my point is, so that now there's interest in that, but also the rail yard. The rail yard is something else. This whole north end of Main Street should be our priority, as opposed to.
Well, I see it as one. I see it, I mean,
Well, yeah.
I see
I understand, yes.
complementing all of this,
Right,
too.
but it's not
'Cause
that
I'm
instead
but
of
it's-
this. But your argument was all like, we need economic development, and it has to be that, as
Well-
opposed to, because really, we want people to come in here first. And
Agreed.
if they don't, and if we can't get this together, then we have out there.
But you have to draw people, and this is the thing, right?
Which
So you
is
have to
why
draw
that-
people, and that's
that-
why.
That bank building being something would
Right.
be, I've been saying it for years. I'm not the only one, but I don't shut up about it. Because we need, what do they call that? The anchor. That's the anchor.
Anchor.
That's what we need.
Agreed. You have to draw people in, it will all unfold as it needs to unfold if you can get people and money in. Money and people, it will fix
I
itself.
mean, Sykesville has the name of the place. I always forget the name of it, but
E.W. Beck's.
E.W. Beck's or Baldwin's, there's two.
Baldwin Station. They don't have a mixed use. They have all kinds of people going there. They have a great little town. They have little, all kinds of stuff. So you don't need that if you can build up this, and then
But-
maybe, so.
But they also had an easy way to get in and out of the
We
town.
had stuff
so-
here, people would come. I mean, we actually have a more interesting topography than Sykesville, really.
Well, they're doing it. We're not.
Exactly.
Steve?
Steve Demoter. I'm not gonna take a lot of your time.
Steve, can you turn your mic on?
Oh, there we go. Steve Demoter. So it's interesting, Leslie, your conversation. I'm in alignment with a lot of what you just said. Just to comment on Center Street and the development of the Beck property. I think some people think that if we develop Center Street and the Beck property, that's going to draw people to come all the way down to Main Street. And maybe that might happen. But I think you need to decouple that and say, Center Street may or may not happen, Beck property may or may not happen. We ought to be looking at, in parallel, how we improve our Main Street, because that needs to survive on its own. You can't hope and pray that by having some interesting things down on Center Street, people are going to make their way down. They're going to make their way down because, as Leslie said, there's something that draws them down there. It's like the Field of Dreams movie. If you build it, they will come. If it's the right store, they're going to go down to downtown. When I was campaigning, I talked to the business owners on Main Street. They said, we need an anchor. We need improvements on our Main Street. That's first part of this. Second part of this is, I agree with you, Roxanne, that we need to treat everybody with dignity and respect. And so it's a balance. As a property owner, you should have the right to sell your property. But now it's a question of, is it zoned in a way that meets requirements and what people would like to see, and the adequate public facility? So all of that fits into what you do with the property. Okay, a couple just quick things on the ordinance. The title of the ordinance, you say, amend the zoning map of the town of Mount Airy to conform with land use classifications and the 2013 master plan. I guess I don't understand the title because it already conforms with our existing land use classifications. I mean, that property. The property is zoned a certain way and it's acceptable. So we're not, your argument that you're changing it to conform with something, it's already adequately zoned. You just want to change the zoning. That's
You're
kind of
addressing
my-
it to me, so I want to make sure I'm just the legal guy,
Okay.
I'm not
sorry,
advocating.
I'm looking at the map. I wasn't. So
In the
that's just,
beginning, who presented
Right.
the ordinance, we don't know, nobody told us.
that's a comment, you don't have to answer, that's a comment. The other thing is, I'll try and I don't mean to be flippant, but just because you say in the 2013 master plan, you know, we really think we like the mixed-use concept, and if this Beck property were already, if we had the land use classification, we would have zoned that mixed use. So just because it's a twinkle in your eye that you might want to do that, doesn't mean that now that you have that land use category, it's okay to go back and do this out of scope. That would be please, let me just get my comments.
Well, hurry up.
Who gets time? Other people had time.
Another comment is, there's a section in the ordinance that says you're taking the quote out of the 2013 comprehensive plan, and it says, I think this is page 2, it says classifications have been discussed at the Planning Commission level and are essential components to the future growth pattern guided by the 2013 master plan. So what's the definition of essential? The definition of essential is absolutely necessary, extraordinarily important, crucial, critical. That's the definition.
Where is it? I'm not seeing.
So I'm reading the ordinance, and just help me understand. It says, further down, it says, I guess the ordinance 2020-01 was adopted on August 3rd of 2020. Wasn't that the mixed-use land classification? It's just a question. If you have a 2013 master plan and you thought that mixed use was so essential and critical, that was 2013, you didn't get your mixed use classification in place until August of last year. It just, to me, doesn't drive that it was that essential.
Well, I can answer, any one of us can answer. This mixed use is a very complicated zone, and it took us probably longer than we should have, but in the meantime, we took a hiatus from that to do the downtown zone, to do the vision plan. So we took a hiatus because we felt that that was more essential at that point than continuing with the mixed use. So, and it is complicated, and we have had many meetings and gone back and forth with this. That's why it took so long. Okay. But in 2013, it was absolutely essential. And if you go to if you travel around, which a lot of us do, if you travel around, you can see and you can read the articles. You can see that the mixed use is the way to go. They don't want sprawl. You don't want to build out anymore. You need to build up because we need more green space. We need to have people walkability for people. So that's why we're building up and not out. But it was every intention. Okay. That the mixed use, we were hoping the mixed use would, like the year after we had the comprehensive plan, that it would be decided then. But we also had, at the same time, we're doing the OPE. Okay. So the OPE got approved first.
And then lastly, actually to pick up on those points, and Scott, what you said, and I've been reading up on mixed use and where it's used and all the towns that are implementing mixed use. But it's interesting. So some of what I read says that, mixed use, it's the flavor of the month. It's all the rage right now. A lot of people who have gone down the mixed use path, the jury's still out. They're not completely through their build out. And some of the comments that I read said, mixed use, it's more of an art than a science. You really have to know what you're doing when you're implementing this. And so I guess my only question is, there may be some positives. Scott, you mentioned all the places in Rockville and Germantown and Pikes Rose, that's where it's working. My question is it the right fit for Mount Airy? Maybe some components are. Maybe this vision of how it's working in other places is not necessarily a perfect fit for who we are as a town of Mount Airy.
Well, I think that's why we spent so much time on our mixed use. I think we developed it for the town of Mount Airy. And the mixed use is not, I mean, every mixed use is not the same. It's not a boilerplate mixed use zone that you use. You have to determine what is best for your town.
Right.
And you read that article, but I read many, many other articles about how successful it is. It all depends on how the author is skewing it, if they're in favor of it or not. And that's, that's one of the things. But, it comes down to, we have these infill properties that have been vacant for a while that we need to make decisions to decide. Yes, we listen. Yes, it may not necessarily all be what the citizens want, because the citizens are not developers, they're not architects, they're not engineers. We listen to them and try to implement what they need and want. Was anybody else?
Well, I was just going to say, we have, what, two ways? Sorry. Better?
Yeah.
Thank you. We have two ways to get downtown, this direction and this direction. And as someone who has a house on Main Street and sitting in my driveway for sometimes 10 minutes to get out, because there's a lot of traffic, it would be nice for people to come up 27 and have like a road to go right down and be in the heart of Mount Airy so they can access. Well,
Same difference, same thing.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, is it well known as
Rock
like
Island.
that end and that end, or?
That's a little bit of two issues. I mean, it's,
Yeah, so do you get stuck in your driveway? Yeah.
I think if you that, it does seem scary. Well, first, I think we have so many ordinances and restrictions that we could never become Pike and Rose tomorrow. So don't worry, it's not going to happen. Like we would have to unravel decades of documents that prevent us from going over 40 feet in Main Street. Like that's not, we can't do what they're doing in these other places. We would spend decades trying to figure out how to make the paperwork fit what you're trying to do or what you would see. But that's fine because I don't think we need a Rio here in Mount Airy anyway. But what I'm saying is that somewhere between, tumbleweeds rolling through the streets and Pike and Rose is the happy medium, and I think we can do that. I think we have the geography, we have the topography, we have the desire to get to something in between, and I think that's where we need to be. And this mixed use, I encourage people to go experience it. Hey, read articles, I read articles, you read articles, great. But like go somewhere, check these places out and see, find them on the map. They're awesome. I mean, you can go to Northern Virginia, you can go down the Pike, whatever, but experience them. Go have a meal, walk around, see the park. I mean, I saw a dog park down in Pike and Rose over the weekend that blew my mind. You could have your adult beverage, the dogs were playing, people were under umbrella. I mean, it was like communal and a dog park at the same time. You had like this social scene. But the thing is, that's not amazing. It's just that no one built it until then. So these things are nice. Like, I think I would like that. And that's not going to, throw Mount Airy into the realm of New York City by putting a dog park that has an adult beverage stand next to it.
I hear you.
What I'm saying is I think people should experience it. I think you should see what these places have to offer, see if you like it, and see the good, the bad, and then bring it back, and then bring it into a town hall meeting and say, hey, I just went to this place, and they were able, they had all these fun things, and we could do that, because there's nothing stopping us except us in achieving these things. Really, we're our own worst enemy in that,
So I hear you, and I have experienced some of those places, and you don't have to convince me. You have to convince the citizens of Mount Airy.
Well, you're a citizen.
I'm here to represent all the citizens of Mount Airy, and I want to do what they want, what their wishes are, and what they want to see happen. So, the art of public policy is articulation and persuasion and facts. So I'm looking forward to see where it goes.
We're the facts.
Thank you.
We don't do political persuasion. The other one thing that I do want to say,
Roxanne?
I'm sorry.
I just want to, I'll let you finish.
Okay. The thing about Center Street, and I think I mentioned this before, the developer can also be our best friend when trying to get Center Street through. And I'm a child of someone who did road construction, and his frustration was that he would build a road, do the curb and gutter, and then start on the road, and then something else was approved or something else needed to be done, and he had to tear up everything that he had already done. And it was so very frustrating and a waste of money. I don't want to see a waste of money, and I see the developer helping to get Center Street through and to come on the other side, which he has kind of said that they thought they might do by breaking through at Century Drive and come and making the circle around to help eliminate that traffic. But if we go ahead and do something and then we get approval and the developer comes, I'm just saying a developer comes and wants to do something else, and all of a sudden we have to tear up everything that we did, mitigated for, and then we have to start over. That's a total waste of money. I don't want to see us use our money. I want to see us leverage somebody else's money to get what we need. Just my opinion. Carl?
Thank you, Roxanne. Very well spoken there. I just want to say there's good arguments on both for and against. I've seen some very good arguments, passionate arguments tonight about for and against this, and I've been taking notes and listening and thinking as I'm going along. But I do need to ask John this. By us asking for MXD instead of a developer, are we, when I say short-circuiting the notification process? Like, say if a developer came in and requested this, would we have to notify all the surrounding properties for the reuse or the reclassification and zoning? I don't want to be skipping steps.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, typically if it would be an adjoiner, so an applicant would come in, they would give us an adjoiner list. So every parcel that was adjoining this parcel. And then we would send that out for a public hearing. We can still do that for this specific one, prior to going to the public hearing with the town council.
Okay.
And again, I mean, I know back to Lindy's concerned about her not having a commercial right up against the back of her.
Yeah.
I mean, the plan that was shown to me through the developer shows all of that area to the left that's currently residential to be residential, single-family homes, possibly duplexes, but mostly all single-family homes towards the rear of that property. Yeah. Again, I haven't seen a comprehensive plan, so I can't say exactly. But, back to your original point, yes, I mean, typically if they we'll use Vosloo, for example.
Yeah.
The applicant came in, it went through the process. We get an adjoiner list. We send out postcards to all the adjoining property owners to let them know that we were having a hearing on it. Now, again, I think that was for the hearing. I'm not sure if that was part of the planning commission.
Yeah, I think that was.
To figure out.
Yes, I think that was before, like they were notified that it was coming before us. I'm pretty sure.
Then we should
There were
at least.
people who showed up.
But again, so this came from town council.
Yeah.
Right? And so was it notified then as well? I mean,
No.
I don't.
Nah,
The
we should.
distinction is that there are two different proceedings. In the one instance, there is a request by a property owner who will have to, in a hearing, establish through evidence that there's either been a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood or a mistake has been made in the last master plan and for some reason this got miszoned or didn't get zoned in accordance with that. Notification is put out because the property owners, if they're close enough, can be aggrieved parties who can be heard in the hearing and can appeal it to the circuit court. A legislative rezoning, because it's a part of the comprehensive plan, is a legislative action. It's not an adjudicatory hearing. And so You don't have to, although, many would say it's great practice to notify. There's not a legal requirement to send out the kind of notices that you do when you're about to have an adjudicatory proceeding that can be appealed to the circuit court, and where people have a right to come in with their own attorneys and say the evidence does not show there's a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood.
So Tom, you just said it's a legislative process, which I agree with, but you said it's because it's part of the comprehensive plan, but it's not, because we're not discussing this as part of the comprehensive plan or the master plan.
The way this is drafted and introduced, it's the fulfillment, again, as it's drafted, of the master plan.
Right.
Again, I'll simply argue the legal point.
Right. You don't have to say it again. You've already said it. So I guess I would recommend that this ordinance, instead of us recommending to go back to council, that it should be incorporated into our actual process, master plan process, because it's like, we're gonna have, when some of these people who put in to have their property rezoned, they're gonna be here and people are gonna know, and they're gonna show up to tell us what they think. So regardless that, I understand what you're saying, but people still should have the opportunity to come here and tell us what they think.
That's what I was
Good or
trying to.
bad, some people might be in favor of it, some people will be opposed of it. I don't see why they don't get the same opportunity.
Just a quick comment, and this, just so you know, when this was introduced at the June Town Council meeting, that was the point I was making. I was trying to make the point that, I know this was a twinkle in your eye in the 2013 plan. For all the other reasons Roxanne said, you didn't get the mixed-use land ordinance in place till August of last year. You started the 2023 master plan process February. So at this point, shouldn't this rezoning be considered holistically as part of all the other properties that are being requested for rezoning under the 2023 master plan process? That was a big part of where I was going, because I think our citizens are going to look at this and say, and I use the word short circuit. It gives the optics of short circuiting this process that you set up. And now that you're so close and you're part of this 2023 master plan process, you should be looking at it within that process. And to me, it's a public credibility kind of an issue, because, at the end of the day, there's going to be some more development somewhere in Mount Airy. And I think you want all of our citizens, whether they're for some growth or against growth, I think what we want as a town is for citizens to say, I may have agreed or disagreed with that development over there, but you know what? The town followed a good process. It was above board. They did it within their own system. I had plenty of time to comment. I may not agree, but I trust the process. We had a credible process. And I think the optics of doing this out of that cycle, I think, is going to taint what might happen with this property. That was kind of where I was going when this first got introduced at my first town council meeting. So thank you for listening.
Well, sorry, let me continue here. I would just like to see if this comes back before the Planning Commission in August or September for another hearing, that we notify the surrounding property owners to say there is a hearing on the reclassification or rezoning of the property.
Well, it's not a hearing, right?
Well, not a hearing, but just that it's being heard, just as an
Public meeting.
FYI or something of that nature, so we can get the word out. Because as Lindy said, it's like she might have been under the misconception it applied to community commercial only. It's not that. So I would like the public, or at the minimum for here, before it becomes back to the council, for the surrounding property owners at least to be notified that, hey, it's coming to talk.
But don't you think they could do that for the council meeting? I mean, like, this is, How many warnings do you need? This planning commission warning, the council meeting warning, the hearing, like, how many do we need?
Well, not that many, but it's like, it's just common courtesy, because it would be the same thing if a developer came in during an off-site, say if there's something had changed, we should at least give them due process to be coming here, at least they have to notify then, hey, it's coming. Even if it came back before the town council, we wouldn't necessarily notify them that it's being heard again. We're talking maybe a month delay. I mean, remember, you have up to 6 months, I believe, to hear this.
90 days.
90 with a potential 90-day thing. So, I mean, I'm not saying take it out to the full 90 and 90, but one more just to see if people can say yay, nay. And if nobody comes before in next month or in September, then my conscience is clear. I mean, obviously then, if we notify them, no one comes out and says, good, bad. Obviously, we've had this issue before, like people get up in arms, and when it comes to time to, whatever, to talk about it, nobody shows up. Well, if you notify, you don't come show up, my conscience is clear.
Well,
and I'm willing to move forward with this, Scott. I'm not saying no.
This is to make it consistent with what's currently in the master plan that's been around since 2013. So we've been sitting on it for 8 years. No, this is new stuff, because I'm pointing out that we've actually been looking at this very idea for 8 years in the master plan. It was in the master plan. It's just that we're making it consistent with it. So we're actually
what I meant was we're having the same discussion.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, we're going around in
Yeah,
circles,
I understand, and I feel it took us a long time to do. I wasn't on the commission at that time, but I remember how long and arduous it was to do the 2013 master plan. We're far and above where we need to be, I think, as far as the 2023 master plan is. And it does not say that we have to continue to have it, to do things until 2023 and get it approved. We can get it approved ahead of time. And I think that's where we're headed. I think we're far and above, closer to getting it approved in less time than the 2013. I will say that I really think that, like Carl says, it's my opinion that we should discuss this again in September and allow at least a place on the September council meeting, that it be then taken back, whatever our decision is then. I just want to make sure, and I will go to the council meeting on Monday and express the decision.
Sorry, can you clarify? Are you talking about us, the planning commission, talking about it in August and then council in September?
September. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm thinking ahead of myself.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Scott. I just
wanted to get clarification.
We have to also understand that we need these things done, but we also have to have some, the people need to understand and agree with what we're doing. I just feel that it's necessary that we do it this time.
I have a question, Roxanne.
Yes.
So when I'm looking at this, so all the applicants, do I just contact the owner of this?
You have to
use here?
contact.
Or just let me please finish.
I'm sorry.
Please. So there's a bunch of different individual units in here, a bunch of individual units in here, a bunch of individual units inside the shopping center. They're all adjoining properties. Do I have to contact each individual business with inside that facility? Yeah, but the owner doesn't own, so I mean, just the owner of the property, and that's it.
The property owner.
Okay.
The shopping center would be security development. You've got the school. I mean, if a business owner comes out and says, I don't want it, they're kind of, not thinking straight. I'm more concerned with the residential.
Residential.
And as I was stating before, that the plan shows that that's going to be all residential, that'll be adjoining any current residential that's there. But it's fine. I mean, so you're just saying the residential, I don't have to contact the businesses?
Well, you can contact both, but I'm just saying the business owner is not the
I just want to make sure I
individual
know what I'm supposed to do.
condo owner in the business probably. Just follow what the code states, as Barney was saying, just the business, just the owner listed on the property.
Okay.
So, and I would say adjoining, wherever that line intersects with the property, adjoining property.
So just like in the development of Twin Arch Village. So would I just contact the HOA? Because they're the only person that's adjoining that property to the east.
I would say HOA and just make sure the HOA
Right.
puts it out on their Facebook page or something. So you
Or if
can-
they have a newsletter, they can put it in the newsletter.
Or something, just say, yeah, Facebook page. So, we'll see.
Got it.
As I say, yeah,
I'm sorry, but
I have, yeah, I just have to do it, and it's conscious for me, it's like, just get it out there and say, and if nobody shows up or a low number comes out, then,
So I'd make a motion on what you want me to do.
yeah.
We're going to move to table, to table the decision about 2021-17. It will be discussed at the August meeting. Those of you that are bordering this property, please come. We'll start at 7. This will be the first on the agenda. Will be a decision to give a positive or negative recommendation to the council for them to do with what they need to do in September. Do we have all that? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
4. Those opposed? I didn't say anything, but I agree that we need to do it. So it's 5 ayes, 1 against. The next is ordinance 2021-18. That's the proposed new code section for Article 112-19.1, the wireless facilities related to all zoning districts. Oh my gosh, this was... Phew, this was a long one to read. Tom?
Yeah, fun to write, too.
I'm sure. You had to have writer's cramp after this one.
Basically what touches all of this off was an FCC bulletin about 2018, basically said that local governments would be limited in their ability to limit or even prohibit wireless facilities in their towns. The obvious idea is they want to encourage at the federal level the expansion of the 5G network. So what the FCC basically said was that towns cannot prohibit it, either directly throughout their town, nor can they do it indirectly by imposing such regulations as would substantially impair the ability to extend the network in whatever locality we're talking about. However, what's left intact is the ability for towns to perhaps say where they go within the town, to set forth various regulation on aesthetics, what they'll look like, how tall they might be, where they might go, how they might or might not be clustered, etc. Basically, the bulletin said that In order for a municipality to do that, you have to have on the books something before a wireless carrier comes to apply. You can't take their application and then impose after the fact requirements on them that didn't exist before the application. So the purpose here is we've sort of had at least a procedure in policy to deal with these, but here the idea would be to proceed to actually codify it. This particular ordinance, as I explained to the town council, is modeled after the Manchester ordinance that was passed by them fairly recently, with some measure of assistance from yours truly. It's not the only way to go. What this ordinance does is it places a lot of discretion in the hands of their planning commission, and thus has written you, in terms of somewhat where they go, but basically what they would look like if implemented. Other municipalities do it a little differently. They do them as special exceptions, which means the Board of Appeals gets involved in addition to the Planning Commission. So anyway, this is just one way of doing it. Obviously, this is here for your first review, but given how complex it is, I would suspect you're probably going to be looking at this for a while. But anyway, that's what this essential purpose of this ordinance is.
So it's very timely, I assume, and I mean, and I figure you don't want to take too much time, because in case some applicant shows up, we want this to be passed. Not that we're gonna decide anything tonight.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
You're not
Sure, they're not knocking on our door yet.
Okay, because we don't have a mixed use. Yeah.
What was the process that Manchester went through? Who did they look to for guidance, and what discussions and considerations did they have?
So theirs was generated in the first instance by their planning commission. I came in at toward probably more the end when I became their town attorney. I do know that I share with them Gaithersburg's version. I'm not sure the extent to which they borrowed from that. If I recall correctly, Gaithersburg is more of a special exception, treated as a zoning matter, completely a zoning proceeding, as opposed to like a site plan review. Ultimately, their planning commission sort of came up with this, and then I know that their town council did review it. I think they had one or two folks who were kind of expert in the field before them, talked to them about it, and ultimately they, with some minor changes, they adopted what the planning commission had recommended.
So kind of my question is, and Scott, you're kind of like the 5G person here. This is kind of all in anticipation of carriers coming to request cell towers, I don't know what you call them for 5G. What do you call them? Cell towers? For the 5G network. And I think, as you explained last week, the 5G has the towers closer together.
And they can look really ugly.
Ugly.
That's why you want this, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone look up pictures of?
Yeah.
There's some
Ocean City,
Yeah.
right.
Nice ones. And then, I don't know if you've been at Hagerstown, there's one that they have that looks like a tree that is horrendous looking. It's just all green and it's cell tower. It's, the cell things, but it does not look like a tree. Yeah. But, like you were talking about, like, we want them to kind of look, especially in the town, like lampposts or whatever. So this is all, I need some more time to diagnose, to kind of delve into that. This is Ocean City. We're just passing around a picture of the towers in Ocean City so that we can kind of make sure that we protect what we have here. Is everybody okay with further discussion in August? I keep skipping August.
Our birthday month. She wants us not to get older.
August meeting off
No.
already?
I'm trying to make, I don't know, I'm trying to make Christmas come faster. No, I'm only kidding.
Oh, my God, keep that away.
Is everyone in agreement with that? Does anybody have any questions right now for Tom or anything? Does anybody have any questions about it?
Can we, oh, sorry.
no,
I was just
no,
going to
no.
ask, can we include some pictures of how other places have done
Yeah,
it to give?
let's,
Yeah.
let's do some collective due diligence on this.
Check with Council President Poirier. I believe he had one or two. That
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask him. Yeah, there's a variety of them. I started looking on, there's like towers, little things that go on lampposts.
All right, Carl, that's your homework. You can bring in some pictures for us.
Well, I will try. I might
Okay.
be on vacation on August. I'll find out, but I'll send them to John if I am.
That's fine.
Just one question, I guess, reading through this. Are we anticipating, or when a cell provider comes into town and requests these, do they do it like piecemeal, like one tower at a time, or do they come and do like a blanket plan for the whole town? Because my concern is, like, depending on where they're trying to reach, we have the utility poles coming down Main Street, but then once you get off of Main Street, it's all lamp posts. So they'll be replacing the town lamp posts, not looking right in communities. I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around if they come in, we need, say, AT&T, for example, comes in and say, we've determined we need 50 5G cell towers for Mount Airy to provide full coverage. I'm not against the technology or anything else. I just want to make sure it looks nice once they come here.
Well, and to answer your question, Carl, is I don't know, because nobody submitted an application, so I'm not
Okay.
sure. And I know that, some of these poles are currently not in our property. It's
Yeah.
not in a homeowners association or
Right.
a development, so it's within a right-of-way. So, somebody could easily go through and go to Potomac Edison and slap it on top of their pole. And, I mean, they would get an electrical permit, and I'm not sure if that would even come to my desk.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we enforce protocol or a standard onto these people unless, when somebody comes in and is looking to install, they come to us. But they might not come to me. They might just go to Potomac Edison and.
As current, right, you mean, right, or
Yeah, I
after
mean,
the fact?
Yeah,
if we
I'm
pass
not
this?
sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Did Manchester, Tom, receive any presentation of what any cell phone company wanted to install? I don't know. I don't know any history of any kind of.
Yeah, I'm just,
Not that I
Development.
remember, not that I was present for. They may have before me.
I can reach out to Michelle and find out, like,
I don't think they're going to be able to place them close enough without having a serious conversation with the town, because you can't just put one over here, one over here, one over there. You're going to need to have a lot of
interconnectivity.
yeah, a lot of conversations. The other thing is that, I don't know what they'll look like when we start talking about putting them in Mount Airy, but, they're outfitted with lights, cameras. I mean, we can have a higher security in the town with, a lot of these poles can outfit, because they're Wi-Fi towers, or they're communication towers. The town could very well put cameras on them and use them for security too in our town. So, I mean, that would cut down the nonsense of crime on the streets, just because every tower might, or every couple towers might have a camera. That sounds pretty good to me. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad when you look at this.
oh, no, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just trying to figure out, and.
Scott, when you say it that way, all I hear is Big Brother.
Yeah.
It didn't sound so good when you were pitching just a second ago.
Yeah, my only other question would be,
Until your car gets broken into.
Yeah.
And then you wish that camera was there.
yeah, my only other question is, do we know if, like, say, blanket plan, or do they share towers to different providers? Or would each provider have to come in and request?
I think they share towers.
Okay.
They
It would
can
make
share
sense.
towers.
Share towers.
Yeah.
I mean, a water tower, yes, but I'm not sure about a telephone. I mean, I would think.
Just asking, just to wrap my head around if we're expecting, every, yeah, exactly.
More
How
homework for
many
you.
are we
Where?
expecting?
Yeah.
It might help if we have a 5G, someone, I know Scott's real good at it, but, you know, someone that maybe works for one of the service companies, something, to come and talk to us about this, a resource.
That'd be good. Learn about it.
And try to find something maybe.
Okay, so all those in favor of tabling a decision on ordinance 2021-18? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Okay. Why does this go out? The next thing is future items. We have our next master plan work session at Town Hall on August the 5th at 6 o'clock. The next planning commission meeting is August 30th, 2021 at 7 o'clock.
Roxanne, so I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The work session.
Mhm.
Is there any way we possibly, I might not be in attendance, so I'm not sure if that would be something we could move back to the following Thursday, as long as there's no other meetings happening in here on that Thursday.
What day are you talking about?
The following Thursday is the 12th.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
I'll be away.
Oh.
So, I mean,
Are you more important or am I more important?
We need you both.
I'm not going to say.
Can you run the Facebook feed, Leslie? That's the question.
Since Roxanne wanted to cancel something in August, we could always cancel that, and we could push it back a month. I did allow for an extra month within the schedule, sort of a buffer month for summer
Right.
activity.
But we didn't, because I said this discussion shouldn't happen via Zoom. It needed to be in person.
Not sure if I'm following you. You're saying that we can't have the meeting on Zoom, you're saying?
No, never mind. Okay, so I don't know.
Well, again, I mean,
I've lost control. And you were going to bring all of the people that have requested for rezonings, right? We were going to discuss all those
you know, I'm
at the
still
workshop?
waiting- I'm still waiting for maps from Carroll County as well.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about in August?
That's what I was potentially.
And I
gonna bring.
want to be here for that. What's the regular day we would have it?
Is the day,
First
I can come the 5th, but I can't come the next week.
the 12th. And you're going to be away,
Yeah,
The high
John,
high
on the-
probability, yes.
on the 12th.
The 5th.
I'm going to be on the 12th.
I'm sorry, the 5th.
Well, we can still make it the 5th, and then I'll figure it out.
I would make it the 5th. Let's keep it with the 5th. I'm sorry.
Yep, it's okay.
Let's stay the 5th.
Well, and I'll either be bringing all those people asking for rezonings or not, depending on if I get the maps, et cetera.
Yeah, well, and if you don't get the maps, then what else are we going to be discussing?
Well, I think there's still some other chapters we still have
Okay.
to brush up on, so
All right. Okay.
we'll see.
I was going to say, if it's not enough to discuss and you don't get the maps, then maybe we have to move it to September so everybody can be here.
Yep.
But I want to,
That could work too. Again, I haven't spoken to Sandy at Carroll County,
okay.
but, you know,
Well, let me know, and we'll do an email thing to see.
and we can post it on the website
Right.
that's been postponed.
Absolutely. Okay, any other new business or? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Also moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned. See you all on the 5th of August.